Okay, one of the common questions I get from students when I'm teaching this topic is, hey Andrew, is there an easy way to memorize this thing? Oh, there is. There is a pretty easy way to memorize. I'm going to give that way to you. Don't worry, it's not so bad to memorize them. By the time you finish with this, you'll probably know all of them, if not most of them. So let's get started here. Hopefully you did the video so you understand what they are. So I'll use my trusty pen here. So BAC is just the budget. That's all that means. Just the budget. There's no calculation, just total budget of the project. AC is the other one, and AC actually does not have any formula either. So BAC and AC, they have no formula. So BAC is just the budget, AC is just the amount of money you spent on the project, sum of the costs for the given period. Now, PV and EV, they're both multiplied against the BAC. See that? They both multiplied against the BAC. And notice PV stands for what? Planned value. EV stands for earned value. So this is, PV is what? Planned. So it's the planned percent times the BAC. EV is the actual percent times the BAC. So in this formula, how do you remember this? Well, remember P stands for planned, and the PV and EV are both multiplied against BAC, so it's the planned percent times the BAC. Remember, EV is what you earned, it's what you did. It's the actual percent times the BAC. All right, so hopefully you got that. Let's take a look at the next four. You have CV, CPI, SV, and SPI. Quick tips. Notice they all start, number one, with EV. Did you notice that? Maybe if you're doing some practice, you have noticed they all start with EV. And anytime in these four, anytime you have a V, it's a subtraction. Every time you have an I, it's a division. You see that? Look, CV is EV minus, CPI is EV divided, SV is EV minus, SPI is EV divided. So anytime you have a V, it's a variance, subtracted. And every time you have an I, watch my hands, you divide it. Said that wrong. Yeah, that's right, you divide it. So keep that in mind. I divide, V subtract, which means it's the variance. So, and here's another tip now. Notice CV and CPI deals with costs. So that's actual costs. It's actually CV and CPI is actually the same formula. One divided and one subtracted. So notice CV is EV minus what? The cost, AC. CPI is what? It's EV divided by the same number. AC deals with cost. Now the schedule, remember the schedule deals with the work that should have been done. It's a schedule. So that's, notice both SV and SPI goes against the PV. Just like CV and CPI both went against the AC. So what's the formula for SV? Well, it's EV. Remember, everything starts with EV minus, remember it's a V, minus what? PV, the planned value. What's the formula for SPI? It's the same thing, except you just divided it. So it's EV divided by PV. All right, good. Hopefully you got those. Unfortunately, I don't have any much more tip here for the next three. But I'll give you guys some quick ways of thinking. If you just know what they mean, the estimate at completion is just a budget. If you think about this, if I'm forecasting how much money you're going to spend at the end of the month, then take your budget and just really divide it by the spend rate of the project, which is the CPI. That's how I remember it. Just take the budget, divide it by how you're spending your money. That's how you forecast your number. And that's how you think about your personal self, how much money you're making every month. Divided by how you're spending it every day. It'll tell me how much money you'll have left at the end of the month. ETC, estimate to complete. I remember this is how much more money I need to finish the project. So if my forecast is this amount, then minus it from how much I've spent, and that'll tell me how much more money I need to finish the project. The VAC is equal to the old budget, the original budget, minus the new forecasted budget. The VAC, I remember, is how much money I might have left over. So I remember it by saying to myself, okay, well, if I need, how am I going to figure out how much money I'm going to have left over? Well, I got to take the original money I start with, minus how much I'm forecasting to end it with. That'll tell you how much money you'll have left over, or how much more money you need if it's negative. Here's a quick tip on TCPI. TCPI now stands for 2 Complete Performance Index, but I'll show you guys another way of reading it to help you get some numbers out of this. So check this out. Notice it has the CPI in it, but it's a total. It's like the total of the CPI, and I'm telling you that because you notice the CPI is EV divided by AC. See that? But you notice that this is also EV divided by AC, except you're minusing both sides from the budget, from the total. Did you get that? It's the same formula. TCPI is really the same formula as CPI, except you're minusing both the EV and the AC from the BAC or the total. That's how I remember it. So I remember it as like total CPI. That's not what it means. I know. I'm just telling you that to help you remember it. I remember it as like total CPI. Just take the CPI and minus both sides from the total, which is the budget. All right. These are some tips. Watch this video again. Hopefully you get them. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down all 12 numbers. Write down all of these 12 here. And then I want you to write out the formulas a couple of times till you get them. And you know them out of your head before you walk into that exam room. Also, I've got the PDF there with all the formulas. You can print those out and keep them with you until you memorize them. All right, that concludes this section. Hopefully you learned a lot. Let's get into the next one.